Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, if you're a regular, welcome, 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 welcome. So, we are going to get into this new episode 2 of Love and Marriage Detroit, season 1, episode 2, titled Pour the Wine and the Drama. So, remember, we left off where we have Kristina and Brandon celebrating their 11-year anniversary in the lavender field with their friends. And we have Kolby who spilled the wine about Brandon having a new artist, and Kristina did not know about it. So Kristina got upset. So this is where we are. We're still at the anniversary picnic. Brandon had walked away and invited his wife to go have a talk with him about it. So she followed him, tears in her eyes. Kristina is hurt. She tells him, I'm hurt the fact that you do not communicate with me. There is no communication, which is what we have most of the times with couples where, there's hardly any communication. And, that usually breaks down the relationship, because even though you are a couple, it could be in either a relationship or a marriage. Each person feels that, they should still be free to do whatever they want to do without having to communicate with their significant other, whether it be about their career, whether it be about money, whether it be about the children. And that usually tends to break down the relationship. So it's a struggle that every couple goes through. And I believe with more communication, it could be better. So we're here now with Kristina and Brandon talking. He says he doesn't communicate with her because he feels that he's not getting any support. So why even waste his time talking to her if she's going to shoot down everything that he does? And he feels that the marriage was rocky a few years ago and he was about to walk out. And Kristina is saying that, there's no consideration for me when you do things and don't communicate. Everything is about you and what you got going on. So they're again still at a standstill. The communication is the big problem. So they decided to table the issue for now and get back. I think they, because they had guests there, they didn't want to leave them. So she's like, all right, we'll just table the issue for now and we'll pick it up later. So now they get back to the couples and they have the band play them a nice song and everybody was dancing as a couple in the sunset. So it was just beautiful. Of course, we had that little hiccup right there, but it was just a beautiful evening regarding Kristina and Brandon. So in the next scene, we have Kolby and Russell, and they're doing a DIY project on their home, which is so good because I see my sister and her husband do that a lot. They own properties, and whenever they have a turnover in tenants, then they go in and they do the projects by themselves. And if they need to bring in another contractor or another friend, they'll bring them in. But they do most of it on their own because he is in construction and he knows everything that needs to be done. And of course, over the years, she's picked up, learned things from him. So they actually do it at a low cost. So Kolby and Russell are doing a DIY project. And Russell says to Kolby, why did you say something at the, why did you bring up the subject of Brandon having a new artist at the anniversary dinner? She's like, well, I didn't know that. Kristina didn't know, and it's really up to Brandon that he should have told her. And Russell was like, girl, you really need to keep yourself out of people's business. Well, you should have told me not to say anything, which is what Kolby told Russell. And then she said he should have told his wife. And I was just helping him out, in order for him to tell her. And then he said, you know what, since we're talking, let me tell you something. He's like, I am studying to be an ordained minister. And of course, Kolby had this look on her face like, what? He's like, he started divinity school 2 weeks ago. She said, what? He's like, yeah, I'm studying to be a chaplain and your dad is my mentor. Because as you remember in episode 1, Kolby told us that her dad, she's a preacher's kid. So she's like, I told you my triggers are my drama, from being a preacher's kid, and you're telling me you started divinity school? He's like, well, I got the calling. And in the confessional, she's like, yeah, I don't have a problem with you having a calling, but at the same time, I'm sure God didn't tell you not to tell your wife. She's like, we lay in bed every single night. We watch TV, we scroll social media, you read your book, and at no point could you tell me that this is what you have going on. She's like, is there any other kind of delayed communication that you have for me? He said, actually, yes. He said, my love for the gym, right? She's like, yeah, you have an affair with the gym. He's like, well, I'm thinking of buying a gym. He was like, it would be another source of income for us. Of course, I wouldn't be running the gym. I would just be the owner and hire people to do it. And will you do it with me? So she was like, oh my God, you got all of this going on and I'm right there with you in the bed and you can't talk to me about stuff like this? So of course she got upset. She got a little bit loud. He was like, bring your tone down. You don't need to be that way. She's like, I am upset. I am being passionate right now. And if my voice is being raised, I need to be able to communicate so you could hear me. He's like, well, we're having a conversation. You don't need to be that loud. Let's talk about it. So he comes down off the ladder and he sits on the floor with her and he's hugging her. And he's like, you need to be my helpmate. She's like, don't manipulate me at this point. You know exactly what you're doing. Do not manipulate me. And he's like, can I get a kiss or whatever? I guess he was trying to calm her down. She was like, not right now. And then he's like, you need to remember what the Bible says about a woman denying her husband. And I'm like, this guy is something. I was liking him at first because he's funny to me. But I don't know, in episode 2, I don't know if I have a favorite couple yet or even a favorite person, because I'm seeing traits in everybody where I'm like, what? So we're going to keep watching before I decide who's my favorite couple. But Russell and Kolby had a lot going on in that scene. He has started divinity school and didn't tell her. Her dad is his mentor and he's looking into buying a gym for the family. Yes, I applaud him and, having different streams of income. But my goodness, you didn't talk to your wife all the time. You were able to tell her about Kristina and Brandon's situation, and all that time you didn't tell her that you had stuff going on as well. Well, we're going to keep watching to see how this unfolds. Kolby tells us that she does not want to be a preacher's wife because of the way she grew up. She felt that, her family grew up in a box where everybody was, they couldn't do certain things because as a preacher's kid, you're expected to be on the straight and narrow. You can't do certain things because it's going to look bad on the church. And if you do it as a preacher's kid, what about the people in the congregation? How could you criticize? So all of that she was talking about and feeling, and she was happy to not be classified as one anymore. And now you have your husband of 3 years in divinity school bringing you right back into the church heavy. So there's a lot for her to deal with right there. All right, so we leave Kolby and Russell and we go over to Kristina and Brandon. We see them in their new penthouse in what they call New Detroit. We have Kristina reading the Bible because she said she had a heavy night. These people in this Love and Marriage franchise are very religious, I see. So we have her reading her Bible because she said she had a heavy night and she needed to open up. You're supposed to pray morning and night, of course. And then you have others who read their Bible daily, which you should be doing anyway. And she said she had a heavy night, so she opened up with reading her Bible. Now we see them in the bedroom and they're putting a bed together. And, they were going over what happened at the anniversary dinner. And Brandon was like, your friend got a big mouth. Your little sister got a big mouth. I don't think it was her business to be telling you that, what was going on with me and the artist. So he's like, well, the artist is signed. Kristina wants to know why is it a secret? And Brandon is trying to bring it back to being that Kolby is malicious, and Kristina's like, no, she's not malicious. But he's like, well, she copies everything you do. She's like, why is it when you announced your sip and shop, the following day she announced the same thing? She's stealing your idea. So Kristina was like, well, she does look at me as a mentor, and that is what influencers do. They influence. So if she's gonna do her sip and shop, she's just emulating what I do. And Brandon was like, no, she's stealing your ideas. So they had a little back and forth regarding that. And now we have, in the next scene, we have LaToya and Anthony at home. They're preparing meal. LaToya tells us that she don't know how she could have made it through, the pandemic without his help, because when he was gone, she realized how much she missed his help with everything around the house. So they're talking about the wine tasting event. She's asking, who did you invite? He was like, I invited a bunch of pretty people, a bunch of beautiful people to come. She's like, what about your friend? He's like, no, this is the first time wine tasting event. I don't want no ugly people around. Of course, he's being, funny. And he's like, let's talk about what we really want to talk about. What happened at the anniversary dinner? And LaToya said to Anthony, they really should have talked about it. Brandon really should have told his wife about it, and that wasn't right. And Anthony likened Brandon and Kristina's situation to theirs a few years ago. He's like, we've been through this, and now we're in therapy. We're trying to, get through it even more. We realized that it was a problem with communication, and we're doing a lot better. And LaToya was like, yeah, we're getting there, but we're not there quite yet. And then LaToya was like, I can relate to her as far as everything is concerned. And Anthony was like, well, stop relating to her, because we're past that. We're building on us, and we don't need to go back there. So you know what? Stop relating to her. All right, we leave them there. Now we have Brandon at the club, the same club that his wife don't want him to go to. His friend John that we met in episode 1 at the Father's Day barbecue owns a club. He's a club promoter, so he invites Brandon out. And with that, Brandon invites Anthony and Russell. Brandon let us know that he's still part of the elite group in the Detroit area, and he needs to shake hands and kiss babies. So therefore, if he needs to go into the club to shake hands, that's where he's gonna go in order to elevate his business and meet new clients and stuff like that. We now see the waitresses in John's club, aka Bravo. We see the waitresses, they're basically dressed in unitards, and they have, their ear hanging out. We have the men trying not to look, and of course they're looking. How can you not? With the way the ladies are dressed, and they're beautiful ladies, of course, so they're gonna be looking. So Brandon didn't tell Kristina where he was going. But before we get to that, we have Russell, who is in divinity school. We see him in the club propped up, looking like he is the most comfortable one in there. I mean, he's leaned back and chilling. And then he let us know that he used to be in the club heavy when he was younger. And Bravo said, now I see, for somebody who stay out of the club as much as you do, I know you had to be in the club heavy when you're younger days. So he was telling the guys like, yeah, I was in the club heavy. I was in it 4 to 5 times a week, just hanging out and just chilling. So he's done a complete turnaround. He said he stopped drinking. He stopped clubbing. There's a lot that he's done differently. And now he's becoming a preacher. So while they were sitting there, they were talking about having a showcase for Brandon's new artist, Nija. And he's like, how am I going to break that to my wife? He's like, and the guys were giving him ideas of how to tell her that it's not clubbing, it's called a showcase. So it's going to be either a venue or a concert. Like, put it to her that way, that she's not upset about the fact that it's going to be held in a club, because Brandon's wife does not like him being in a club. Now, we have Kristina call, and she's like, where you at? And the guys help him come up with a lie. They're like, oh, we're in a meeting. We're just chilling here having conversation about, certain things. Well, she's like, you in the club, you in there watching booty shake. And he's like, nah, we ain't in no club. The guys are looking at him like, why are you lying to her? She gonna find out. So he finally got her off the phone. And then they talked about what happened at the anniversary dinner, and the fact that Russell ran his mouth to his wife, Kolby. And then Russell was like, but dude, you're supposed to be more mad at me. And Brandon was like, well, you kind of big, so I'm going to keep my anger over here at Kolby. So I found that to be funny. Then we find out why Kristina doesn't really trust Brandon that much. So he goes in to tell us that he had an artist a few years ago, and he's writing music for them. And in order for him to, write good music relating to the artist, he needs to get into their lives a little bit more. He is on their page, looking at their pictures and stuff like that. And then he goes in the DM and he's talking to the artist. And it so happens that he and his wife were going through a rocky patch at that time. And he started confiding in the artist and venting to the artist by text message. And when you have text message on the iPhone, it's linked to the iCloud. So one day his wife opened up the laptop and saw all of the messages saying that, he had one foot out the door, that he's not happy and stuff like that. And then we have Anthony going into the confessional saying if that was his wife, LaToya, who found out that he was out there doing something like that, the one foot that he had out the door, she would have helped him out the door by kicking him in the back with the other foot and sending him flying. He's like, whoa, that's some craziness. He said, I'm surprised this guy is even still married, because if that was me, my wife would have done divorced me. So now he explains to them Brandon explains to them why his wife really doesn't trust him, because that's the emotional connection that he had with the artist that they were talking about. So what happened with that artist, he said he had to drop the artist in order to keep his marriage, safe. So that's why his wife doesn't trust him. So that's where we are with it. He said the guys were teasing him as far as the showcase is concerned. They're like, how you going to have a showcase if you can't get out the house? That is what Bravo was telling Brandon. Like, how you going to have a showcase if you can't get out the damn house? Because Kristina does not trust her husband, and you can relate. If your husband out there is having what they call the quote unquote emotional connection with their artist, how are you supposed to trust that he's not going to do it again? You shook her confidence in the marriage, in the relationship, and she's going to be looking at you sideways every time that you have a new artist, which is why Brandon did not tell her that he has a new artist. Okay. So, on to the next scene. Now we have, I believe it's the wine tasting event. No, before we get to the wine tasting event, 2 or 3 more scenes to go. We have Kolby and Kristina meeting up. I think it's at the Louis Vuitton store. We have Kolby about to buy Kristina an anniversary gift. She said it's an anniversary gift as well as an apology gift for opening her mouth, as far as, talking about the artist. And they talked about that for a little bit. And Kolby also vented to Kristina about her husband going to divinity school, and about how she felt, as a preacher's kid back in the days, and she don't know if she's ready to be a preacher's wife, because she's just heading right back into the box. So that was a quick scene in the Louis Vuitton store. Now we are at the venue of the wine tasting event that LaToya and Anthony is having. We see, we get to meet somebody's new. We get to meet Chelsea, which is Kristina's sister or friend. I don't know if it's her actual sister or her sorority sister, but Chelsea is there as, she's part of the group. And we learn how to taste wine. We have to do a look, swirl, and a taste. And, they did their wine tasting, and they were encouraged to get a bottle. And LaToya makes sure that she clarified that as far as buy a bottle. We find out that the venue is black owned. That is the first one in the Detroit area, which is a black owned wine store, which is wonderful. She tells a little bit more about the establishment, that you could either buy by the bottle or you could come in and buy by the glass, or, have the bar and stuff like that. So that was good to know. So now they're sitting there talking, and I guess, they had a little what they call libation, and Anthony's tongue get a little bit loose. And they are talking about what is going on as far as what's coming up for each other. And then Anthony like, yeah, we talked about that when we were at the club the other night. So of course Kristina's sitting next to Brandon, and she turned to like, club? What club? So remember, she didn't know he was at the club. So of course, here we go again. We have Brandon getting in trouble. So the guys now trying to save the situation, like, nah, it wasn't like that. He's like, I was there. This is Anthony talking. Russell was there. Bravo was there. We were just all talking about, business and stuff like that. It wasn't anything like that. So I'm like, okay, guys, nice save. You helped your friend out in this situation. I don't know if you're going to be around to help him every time that, he gets in trouble. So they're sitting there talking. Chelsea's like, I know I just met everybody and we're doing a wine tasting event and everything, but I just want to know, why is it that you are in their business? She's addressing this question to Anthony. And of course, Anthony wasn't going back down. I really thought that LaToya was going to step in and say, you ain't going to be talking to my man like that, because isn't that what we do as ladies? We don't, we don't let the guys get into it with them, but we take over and do it. But LaToya, she was trying her best to calm her husband down. I don't think she had a chance to even get into it, but she should have just voiced her opinion as far as I'm concerned, and stepped in as defense for her husband. Even though, the argument was between those two, she shouldn't have let her husband carry on with Chelsea. So of course, Anthony was like, little girl, you need to stay in your lane. You're sitting at a table with bosses. And Kristina, why you gonna bring your little birds around to come and try to fight? Let her know she's sitting at the table with bosses and she needs to be quiet. I'm like, whoa. All right. So again, we have Anthony kind of living up to the chauvinistic title. I don't know about him. I don't know how it's gonna go going forward, but he seems to be making strides and making it known that he is the leader of the pack. And I don't know how that's going to be, because Kolby is not about to let that happen, in my opinion. She seems to be a strong individual, and her husband is going to be by her side, it seems. So episode 2, we're still getting to know each other. We're still getting to know their behaviors, characters, attitudes, and everything that goes with each couple. But at the table, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think Chelsea should have said anything. She should have left it up to Kristina to defend herself. But I guess, every friend got to have that one friend who's ready to be about it, Talk about it, be about it. So I guess that's who Chelsea is. So I'm guessing we're going to see more of her. All right, guys. So that is my recap and my review of Love and Marriage Detroit Season 1, Episode 2, titled Pour the Wine and the Drama. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more reviews, and share this video if you wish. Until next time, as I always say, be sure to take care of yourselves and your families. Bye-bye.